from the Los Angeles Times, and I quote, "When a landfill fire burns near a radioactive waste dump, ... for 5 years, hello, St. Louis," with a link to the story in the Los Angeles Times this morning. So it seems that now the other national media have done sort of stories on this from time to time, but here's the latest in what the Los Angeles Times is asking St. Louisans. It's a legitimate question. Why you're more upset about Donald Trump being slighted by a politician, or you're more upset that Hillary Clinton is being investigated by the Benghazi Committee for the 8th time. While those things, okay, those might be important to you and certainly understandable, is it more important than a nuclear dump on fire in our community? Of course it's not. And yet, that's the bait and switch. The underground landfill that is smoldering, as the Los Angeles Times points out once again, is that everyone agrees that it's a nuclear waste dump, and everyone agrees it's on fire. But what type of threat the West Lake landfill poses to residents, well, that's where it all gets kind of murky. Of course, the EPA, they say that there might be a bit of radon gas, which might not even escape the landfill, but that the fire is just fine and it's not going anywhere. The Missouri Attorney General's office, however, says that the fire is creeping closer and closer to the radioactive material. Maybe the Attorney General knows more than we do, because according to our sources, no one really knows where the nuclear waste actually is in the dump, and the EPA must have a new definition of fire, because when something's on fire, I didn't know that it stays put in where the fire is. That's new science to me, the Environmental Protection Agency. That's interesting, because normally forest fires, they sort of move and grow and get bigger and sort of change direction and sort of go where the fuel is. That's the way I thought fires were. But according to the EPA, the fire isn't going anywhere. It's staying right where it is. Again, we have a nuclear waste dump on fire, and sort of people just sort of say, it's almost like, what's that? Is it The Simpsons, where they're in Springfield and they sort of have a nuclear reactor sort of behind them in the baseball fields, and they're kind of like playing baseball, and you see, it's sort of this sort of joke, like no one cares that there's a nuclear reactor sort of right there, right next to the baseball field. It's kind of like that. It's like, well, don't worry. Yeah, there's a nuclear waste dump on fire. Whatever. It's over there. Yeah, no, don't worry about it. No, go past the nuclear waste dump on fire, make a left, and then a right. That's where the store is. You're fine. Don't worry about it. I mean, that's the world we live in. And these elected officials who don't want to, you want to talk about shooting from the hip. You want to talk about giving you the straight dope, telling you the truth, right? Donald Trump should come straight here and do a news conference right at the base of that news dump and say, this needs to be cleaned up, not when I get elected, today. That's what needs to happen. Somebody needs to embarrass these people to the point of a national stage. You've got some parents who are worried. The local media is sort of doing what they can. But you need for somebody, a big fat somebody, to stand there, who's the guy who comes in? Al Sharpton, right? Al Sharpton comes in every time. The cameras follow Al Sharpton. Then it's a big story. You need somebody. Who do the cameras follow? Kardashian. You actually need a Kardashian to come in and stand in front of the nuclear waste dump and say, this is a waste dump on fire. And then and only then will you get people to actually start to sort of care and start to sort of do the right thing. President Obama comes to town and says, we need justice for Michael Brown. Drives past, Eric Holder, drives past the nuclear waste dump on fire to go to Ferguson to tell people that justice will be done for Michael Brown. And then gets back in his car, drives past the dump again, gets on the plane and flies out of here. Never once says, hey, is there a burning waste dump here? with nuclear waste? Really? So the LA Times is now asking St. Louisans for us to wake up. I wonder how many more people need for us, going to beg us to wake up before we actually sort of decide to solve this problem. Or force the people who should pay for it, or force someone to pay for it. Because it's not, someone's going to have to pay for it. Just the argument is nobody wants to pay for it. 943, 314-969-KTRS, 1-888-550-KTRS, or star KTRS. Those are the phone